Imagine the year 1860. America is on the verge of collapse. But instead of Abraham Lincoln, Donald Trump walks into the Oval Office. History would have followed a completely different, insane script. The election of 1860 would have been the loudest show in history. In reality, Lincoln won with 40% of the vote, and his name was not even on the ballots in the South. Trump would not have tolerated such disrespect. He would have immediately claimed massive fraud. He would have screamed that the Democrats stole the election. Stephen Douglas, his main opponent, would have been destroyed by Trump with nicknames. Douglas was short. Trump would have called him Little Steve. He would have said Douglas has low ratings and even lower energy. South Carolina announces its secession from the Union. Lincoln took this with pain and tried to negotiate. For Trump, this is a breach of contract. You do not do business like that. He would have called the departure of the Southerners the worst trade deal in history. Trump would not have appealed to patriotism. He would have hit the wallet. Tariffs. Trump loves that word. He would have threatened to slap a 200% tariff on Southern cotton. He would have said the South had been robbing the North for years, and now they want to leave without paying the bill. The situation around Fort Sumter is heating up. Southerners are blocking the federal garrison. Lincoln acted cautiously, sending only food. Trump would have been on the telegraph 24 hours a day. The telegraph is the Twitter of the 19th century. He would be sending angry messages to General Beauregard. Trump would have declared that Fort Sumter is prime real estate, a great place for a resort. We are not giving it up. When the shelling started, Trump would not have just called for volunteers. He would have promised to grind the rebels into dust with fire and fury. The war has begun. Lincoln called up 75,000 men for 3 months. Everyone expected a quick victory. Trump would have claimed he would end the war by dinner. He would have said he knows more about war than any general. He would need the biggest army in history, and the most beautiful one. Trump would personally approve the design of the uniforms. More gold, more epaulets. Soldiers must look like winners. Red caps with the slogan "Make the Union Great Again" would have become a mandatory part of the gear. Lincoln's cabinet went down in history as a team of rivals. He united enemies for the sake of the country. Trump does not tolerate competition. His cabinet would have turned into a reality show about elimination. Secretary of State Seward was too smart and independent. Trump would have fired him in a month for lack of loyalty. He would have put his family in key positions. Ivanka would handle negotiations with Europe. Jared Kushner would be in charge of gunpowder supplies. The main criterion is loyalty to the boss, not experience. Relations with the generals would have become the main drama of the war. Lincoln tolerated the indecisiveness of George McClellan for years. McClellan constantly trained troops, but was afraid to attack. Trump would not have lasted a week. He would have called McClellan an overrated loser. Trump loves winners. A general who does not attack is useless to him. He would have fired McClellan publicly by sending a devastating article to the newspapers. Trump would have looked for generals who looked like action movie heroes. The star moment would have come for Ulysses Grant. Grant was tough and effective, but he had a reputation as an alcoholic. Lincoln was pressured to fire Grant. Lincoln joked, asking for Grant's brand of whiskey to send to other generals. Trump, being a teetotaler, is pragmatic to the bone. He does not care about habits if there are results. Grant wins. He is a killer in the good sense of the word. Trump would have said, "Leave him alone. He is doing a great job." Grant would have become the president's favorite. Funding the war required radical measures. The North introduced greenbacks. These were paper money not backed by gold. It caused inflation, but saved the economy. Trump loves printing money and low interest rates. He would have supported the printing press at full capacity. The dollar must be accessible. But he would have had one condition. His portrait must be on the new bills. Lincoln only got on the money posthumously. Trump would have wanted to see his face on the $5 bill immediately. The most beautiful money in the world. The war with the press would have been no less hot than the war with the South. In the 19th century, newspapers were extremely partisan and harsh. Lincoln was called a tyrant and a guerrilla. Lincoln tolerated it, though he sometimes closed editorial offices. Trump would have declared war on fake news from day one. He would have called the New York Tribune the enemy of the people. Using martial law and the suspension of habeas corpus, Trump might have actually jailed unwanted editors. He would have held daily briefings where he would argue with journalists and praise himself. Diplomacy hung by a thread. England and France seriously considered supporting the South for cotton. The Trent affair happened when Northerners arrested British diplomats. London threatened war. Lincoln apologized and released them, saying, "One war at a time." Trump does not apologize. He would have doubled down. He would have told Queen Victoria that she was being disrespectful. He would have threatened to tax British goods with huge tariffs. It would have been a crazy risk, but sometimes the madman tactic works. England might have been scared to mess with such an unpredictable leader, or a world war would have started. Emancipation of the slaves. Lincoln hesitated for a long time, preparing the ground. The proclamation was a dry legal document. For Trump, this would have been the main PR move of his life. He would have gathered thousands of reporters on the White House lawn. He would have signed the decree with a huge black marker, showing the signatures of the cameras. Trump would have declared that no one in history has done more for African Americans than him. He would have presented it not as a moral duty, but as an economic blow to the South. We are taking their workforce. The South is bankrupt. Checkmate. The Battle of Gettysburg. The bloodiest battle. Lincoln came to the cemetery dedication and gave a speech for 2 minutes. 272 words. A masterpiece of brevity. Trump cannot speak for 2 minutes. His speech would have lasted 2 hours. He would have started with complaints about the long drive and the bad microphone. He would have told how much he is loved in Pennsylvania. Then he would have moved on to the battle. It was a huge battle. Many people. Very sad. But we won because we are smart. The Southerners fought hard, but we are tougher. The speech would have been rambling but full of energy. The crowd of supporters would have chanted his name. The election of 1864. The country was tired of war. The Democrats nominated that same fired general, McClellan. Lincoln was afraid of losing. Trump would have felt like a fish in water. He would have destroyed McClellan in the debates. He would have reminded him of every mistake. He would have scared the voters. If you choose Sleepy George, the South will win, and your country will be destroyed. Trump knows how to mobilize his base with fear and anger. He would have won in a landslide and held a map with the results in the Oval Office. General Sherman begins his famous march to the sea, burning Atlanta and ruining Georgia. Lincoln simply did not interfere, understanding the need for harshness. Trump would have actively cheered Sherman on. He likes the demonstration of absolute power. A tweet from the Telegraph: General Sherman is lighting it up in Atlanta. Let them see our power. Burn it all, William. Let them pay for betrayal. Trump would have believed that fear is the best weapon. The tougher Sherman is, the faster the war ends. The surrender at Appomattox. General Lee, dressed impeccably, surrenders his weapons to Grant, dressed in a dirty uniform. Trump would never have missed this moment. He would have arrived on a private train with gold handrails. He would have turned the surrender into the signing of a business deal. Trump would have shaken hands with General Lee, whom he always respected for his style. He would have said, "Robert, you are a great guy, but you chose the losing side. Now work for me. Come back to the Union, and we will build hotels in Richmond." Reconstruction of the South would have become a business project. Radical Republicans wanted to punish the South. Lincoln wanted mercy. Trump is a man of the deal. He would have offered the Southerners amnesty in exchange for flattery and loyalty. If the governors of the former Confederates publicly swore allegiance to him, he would give them money for Reconstruction. Contracts for building railroads would have gone only to loyal firms. The South would have been rebuilt, but it would have been hung with gold signs with the name Trump. Daily life in the White House would have changed radically. Under Lincoln, the mansion was decaying, rats ran around, and the entrance was open to all petitioners. Trump is squeamish. He would have started a grand renovation on the first day. No old carpets, everything in marble and gold leaf. He would have kicked the crowd out of the hallways and the Secret Service on every corner. A high, beautiful fence would have grown around the White House, and he would have made the defeated Confederacy pay for that fence. Lincoln's wife, Mary Todd, spent huge money on dresses, for which the press hated her. Melania Trump also loves luxury. In a poor, warring country, this would have caused irritation. But Trump would have furiously defended his wife. He would have said that the First Lady is obliged to look expensive to show the greatness of America. He would have called the critics envious people and losers. Fashion would have become part of the propaganda of the North's success. The Russian trace. In 1863, the Russian fleet arrived in New York and San Francisco to support the Union and threaten England. Lincoln was reservedly grateful. Trump would have been thrilled. He would have thrown a lavish reception for the Russian admirals with a banquet. He would have constantly repeated, "See, Russia is with us. Tsar Alexander is a strong leader, a great guy. We get along great." This would have become his main trump card in disputes with Europe. Friendship with Russia would have been a matter of pride, not suspicion. The threat of assassination. Lincoln was shot in a theater where he was guarded by one unreliable policeman. Trump is obsessed with security. He does not go to theaters. He watches TV or plays golf. The actor John Wilkes Booth simply could not have gotten close to him. Trump would have been guarded by a private army. He would have moved only in an armored carriage. Trump does not trust strangers and is afraid of germs, so the distance would have been huge. Most likely, the assassination attempt would have failed at the planning stage. In the end, Trump would have saved the Union not for the sake of ideals of freedom, but for the sake of the USA brand. Slavery would have been abolished as an inefficient business model. Trump would not have become a martyr like Lincoln. He would have lived a long life, written a book called The Art of the Civil War, and built a presidential library skyscraper. He would have claimed until the end of his days that he was the best president in history, even better than Washington, because Washington owned slaves, and Trump freed them. America would have become different, louder, more cynical, but just as powerful, because Trump always bets on the strong.